Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I'm excited to be here today to share with you 3 different pocket card ideas. All right, let's make sure we're straight here. That's the thing with using a grid mat, hey? Let's see. Okay, that looks better. All right. Okay, so before we get started, I wanted to share a special that Stampin' Up! Has on right now. It is the starter kit special. So Stampin' Up! Is celebrating 35 years. I'm getting a message here. Okay, 35 years as a company, and they are celebrating with the starter kit special. So you actually have a choice. You can choose either 35% off the starter kit or 35% more product in the starter kit. So the way that would work is normally our starter kit is $135 and you get to choose $165 worth of product. And if you choose to get the 35% off, then you pay $87.75. There's no shipping and there's no GST on that. And you get $165 worth of product. Fabulous deal. Option 2, so in order to get 35% more product, then you get to choose $222.75 worth of product, and you only pay $135. Again, there's no shipping and there's no GST on that. So it is a fabulous deal. If you have a really long wish list, or you want to get some Christmas gifts, or just enjoy a discount on your product, this is a great opportunity. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And now we're gonna jump right in to our projects for today. So we're using a few different things. So for the first 2 projects that I share, I'm going to be using the Winter Owls bundle from the September to December mini catalog. And then I'm going to combine it with the Oh Holy Night DSP. So here's a little peek at this DSP. So it's kind of it's a beautiful DSP. It's a different DSP, and one that you probably wouldn't expect to combine with the Winter Owls bundle. However, these last 3 patterns that I shared, I think work really well with this bundle, and you'll see in a bit. Let me just flip it over and share the back sides. This one actually, it's black and blue, but it does have a little bit of a pattern to it. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it there. And then we've got some pebbled path. I love this one. So lots of great patterns in this paper pack. So we're going to use a couple of those today. All right, just setting my stuff aside so I have some space here. Okay, so for the first card, we're going to use this beautiful patterned paper here. And what I've done is I've cut it down to 5 1/4 inches by 12 inches. All right, and I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. And if your paper is directional, the card is going to be a portrait card. So if your paper is directional, you want it to be 5 1/4 high by 12 across. Okay, and we're going to score it in 2 places. We're going to score it at 4 inches and 8 inches. And then from this score line, so where this score line is, and sometimes I like to kind of fold along this score line before I do this, just so that I can see that mark a little bit better. So from the top of this score line to the bottom here, bottom right corner, I'm going to trim. Okay, This piece I won't use. I'll set this aside. But I'm going to share all the leftover pieces that I have from today's projects at the end, and then I will be back to share additional projects that I create using those scrap pieces. So between this video and a future blog post, you will be able to see a number of cards created using, I think it will end up being 3 pieces of 12 by 12 pattern paper. Okay? All right, so we can move this guy out of the way. Now we're gonna fold along our score lines. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for joining me. And then we're gonna fold this in. We're creating 3 different pocket cards today. So pocket cards are always great if you want to tuck something into the pocket. I have a few things that I really like to use as gift ideas. Well, first of all, gift cards are always nice, but I love to read, so I love to give bookmarks as gifts. Actually, whenever I have a new team member, they get a custom bookmark from me that has been designed by a company in Vancouver. And it's a super cute bookmark. But their name is called Crafted Van. And they've got the cutest magnetic bookmarks. And because they're flat, they're easy to mail. So I often will pick up some of those when they go on sale. And so when you have a pocket card, it's nice to kind of tuck into a pocket, right? All right. So what I did was I just added a little bit of adhesive along the bottom. So that is going to create my pocket. And then this is going to be my card here. But we're going to attach it because it's still a little bit smaller. So we're going to attach it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of Night of Navy cardstock. Isn't this paper pretty? Oh, I love it. All right. So that is the base of our card. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is this piece is going to be our inside piece. We're gonna stamp on this first. So I am using this greeting here from the Winter Owls stamp set. Let's cover this over. And we're gonna ink it up using Basic Black and Night of Navy Stampin' Write markers. So I'm going to use the Night of Navy for the scripty words. I've been using my markers a lot more than normal lately. I just love having 2 different colors on my greetings. So these are our Stampin' Write markers. Remember, those are water-based, so these can be used on our stamps. However, our Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol-based, cannot be used on our stamps. All right, and then I'm going to take my Basic Black and ink this up. Okay, and then I'll give it a huff and stamp it down on here. And then this is going to get tucked in here. So we've got somewhere to write our message. You could always add it on here as well if you were tucking something in the pocket. But I'm going to add that in there just like that. And then my gift or my gift card or whatever it is that I tuck in there will fit perfectly. Now we need to make it pretty on the outside. So what I've done is I've die cut a circle from the Stylish Shapes dies. I used the second largest circle, and we're going to stamp a greeting on here. Now, because it's vellum, it doesn't dry very quickly. You can use StazOn, but I wanted to emboss on it. So I'm going to use my embossing buddy. I was looking at the greetings in this set, and I want to use Warm Wishes. But I didn't want to, if you look, it does fit on here, but I want to have something on the side. So I wanted it on 2 lines. So I'm going to share a little trick that you can do with your greeting sets. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to ink up the word warm. So I'm just inking it up on the side of my Versamark pad, and I'm going to stamp it down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of washi tape. I'm going to ink up the word wishes, and I'm going to cover over the word warm with my washi tape, and then stamp the word wishes down. And I just want to make sure this is kind of straight. Okay, so now we can cover this over. I'm going to emboss it using some white embossing powder. Tap off the excess, and I got a little bit of my ink around my block, so I'm just going to bring a little brush off that excess. Okay, and then we'll bring in our heat tool and heat that up. Just going to grab my tweezers. Okay, now the tricky part when you're working with vellum is how to adhere it to your card base. So I'm going to strategically, actually before we do this, let's do the next step first. Okay, so I wanted to die cut some elements because there's this gorgeous owl in these dies. So this owl here, I cut from some white cardstock. Look how pretty it is. So pretty. And then these two pieces I cut from some silver foil. So we're going to add those to its wings. Okay, so those are from the Winter Owl dies. So I'm just going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue. Actually, first I want to make sure I think these go this way. So you can tell because it kind of follows the shape of the wing. I'm just going to add a little dot to each one of these little tips, and then I'm going to position this on here. Like that. And just hold it down. It does, you do need to kind of give it a second, well, a little bit longer than a second just to set, because this is like a foil finish and it's a liquid glue. Carefully turn it over, and then I'm going to repeat that on this side. So just add a little dot to each one of these little scallop bits on his wing, and then flip it over. There we go. And then look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So pretty. And then we're going to put it on this nice dark background, and it's just going to pop. Okay, I'm going to carefully flip that over and add dimensionals to the back. And I'm going to strategically place my dimensionals so that they also serve the purpose of securing that silver as well. I'll put a couple on his body, one down here and one up here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to figure out the position of my owl, and I want him to go about like that. So now I'm going to slide this in, kind of figure out where I want this. Okay, so it's going to go about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my seal adhesive and just put it on the edges here so that my owl will cover that over. Because see, you can see that underneath. They do make adhesive that works for vellum so that you can't see it through, but I don't have any of that. So I just strategically place my adhesive so that it will hold my piece in place. And I'll share another way that I'm going to adhere this in a minute. Okay, peel off all those backings and then position my owl. See, you can't see the adhesive on there now. And then I'm going to come in with some sparkle gems. So these are from the annual catalog. And we're going to add a few of these silver ones. I'm going to put one here. We'll do one up here. And then we'll grab a small one and put a small one up here. So now that I've got those on here, what I can do is I can strategically place some mini glue dots underneath to hold, like to further secure this vellum. So I'm just putting it right underneath where my dot is so that you can't see it. There we go. So that will secure it in place even more than that little bit of adhesive that I had on there. And there we go. So there is our first pocket card. So this slides out, and again, you can adhere it on this side and then tuck something in there if you want. But I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to use this to tuck in a gift. So that's why I want to give myself the option to have that in there. All right, so that is card number 1. And then move on to the next one. Let me grab my bin. Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot? I did forget something. Okay, we're gonna bring this back because I did add something else here. This owl, I used some boho blue ink, and I need a scrap piece of paper. Inked up this owl. I'm gonna stamp it off. And then just kind of stamp it on the side there. And then of course you can do that on your envelope as well. All right, so we're gonna set these things aside and we'll bring in the supplies for the next card. Okay, I'm gonna tuck that back in there. All right. Okay, so I'm going to use the same bundle, but we're going to throw in a few different colors. So I've got a small blending brush. I'm going to use this owl. I'm going to use the Sending Love greeting for this one. And I've got Night of Navy, Smoky Slate, and Pebbled Path ink, and a 1.5 inch circle punch. The DSP that I'm going to use for this one is another piece from that same paper pack. It's this one here. It's got like the ombre, the blue ombre look on the back, and then with the subtle pattern. And then from the previous pattern, okay, so when you cut, let me grab a full sheet so I can share with you. Okay, so for both the first card and this second card, when you can get 2 of these cards from one sheet of DSP. So what you do is you cut it at 5 1/4 by 12 and then 5 1/4 by 12 again. And then you end up with a 1.5 inch strip at the end, or at the end. And so I've used that 1.5 inch strip and I've cut it to 4 inches. So I did that, cut it into 3 4-inch strips. One of them I'm going to punch a piece out of, and the other one I'm going to use for my card. Okay, but before we get into that part, I'm going to share what you need to do to score and cut this. I think I'm going to do, this is going to be my outside piece, and I'm going to do it this way. So what I want to do is I'm going to open this up. So this piece measures 5 1/4 high by 12 across. So again, if it's directional, you want to make sure that your direction is going this way. So 5 1/4 high, okay? We're gonna score it at 4 inches. And 8 inches. So that's exactly the same. Those are exactly the same score lines as what we did last time. Now I'm gonna rotate it. I'm gonna do that same cut that I did last time. So I'm gonna cut from this score line down to the bottom right. And then I'm going to rotate this, and from this score line to the bottom left. Okay, so again, these two pieces we're not going to use. However, these triangular pieces, these would be easy enough to kind of add on the inside of our card to create another pocket. So it would give a very similar look to this. So you could take this and add it to the inside of a regular card base to create a pocket on the inside of a card, okay? But like I said, I will share what I do with these pieces in a future blog post. Once it goes live, I will post a link to it in the comment section of this video. Okay, so now our piece is gonna look like this. We can get this out of the way. All right, so this is gonna be my inside. So I'm gonna fold this in and use my bone folder, make it nice and crisp. So the Winter Owls bundle is the bundle that we're using right now for our current class to go. I have put in the description a link to where you can find all that information. We're making 6 different cards using that, plus the 2 cards that I shared today. That's 8 ideas right there using this bundle. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, oh, here comes the garbage truck. Close my window. All right. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit of adhesive down here and fold that in. And then a little bit of adhesive here. So all of these cards, I've used DSP to create my pockets, but you can also use cardstock. It doesn't have to be DSP, and you can dress it up with your DSP. However, I've challenged myself to kind of use up as much of my DSP as I can and with no waste. So that's why a future blog post will show you, even though we're not using a piece, all 3 of these pieces from start to finish today, we are using a big chunk of them, but I will share additional projects that I create using those scraps. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be our pocket. So now what I'm gonna do is I've got some pieces here. Pull this out. Okay. So we're gonna adhere it again to a piece of Night of Navy. So this navy measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that's gonna make it the standard size card. Just like that. And of course you can put it onto a 5 1/4 by 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 piece and have a fold along the side and just have the pocket in the front. But I'm not, I don't write a lot in my cards. I'm not a wordy person. So I feel like I don't need to have that. What I can do is I can add the insert, and I can add a greeting to the front if I want, and words to the back, or even words to the front, and that's fine, okay? Or you could turn this into a little card and have it tucked into here as well if you wanted to do that. Just some ideas for you. Okay, so now this 1.5 by 4 inch strip that I had left over from the previous project, after cutting 2 of the pieces, so one for my sample and then one for my video, I'm going to stick this across. From this piece, I'm going to take my 1.5 inch circle, punch out just a half circle. Again, I won't throw that away. I'll put that in my scrap piece because that's a perfect little strip that I could use on the inside of a card. And then we're going to add this to the top of our white cardstock, which is going to be our insert. And then I don't have my ribbon here. Let me grab my ribbon. Okay, so then I'm just going to cut a piece of, where are my scissors? Here we go. Okay, just a small piece of this ribbon. This is the white iridescent ribbon from the September to December mini catalog. And I'm going to bring in my stapler, and I'm just going to staple it to the top. You can put a hole through and run it through if you want. I'm just going to staple it. And that is going to get tucked into there. Okay, now we need to work on our on making it pretty. So what I'm going to do, I've cut from the Stylish Shapes circles. I tell you, I use these every single time I sit down to craft. These dies are pulled out. This is the 3rd largest circle, and I'm going to bring in this owl, and we're going to stamp him using Pebbled Path. We're going to do all our stamping first. Okay, and then we're going to bring in some Night of Navy, and we're going to stamp the greeting. Okay, and then let's set this aside. We're going to bring in our smoky slate. And here is a simple way that you can add a bit of color to your owl. I'm just going to use my blending brush. You can make it as dark as you want it. Okay, so that's what it looks like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my basic gray watercolor pencil, and I'm just going to add a little bit of highlights. Well, I guess maybe they're not highlights. They're where I think it would be darker. So just a little bit of shading. And I'll bring it up so that you can have a closer look in a minute. It's very, very subtle. Of course, you can push harder if you wanted to make it darker, but I just wanted it to be a little bit more on the subtle side. All right, I think that's good. Okay, so there you can see that it has added just a few little bits of shading. All right, now we are going to take the coordinating die and we're going to die cut this. Grabbing my die cut machine, I'll be right back. Okay, and we can use just our mini machine for this. And I'm gonna grab some washi tape. I went to all that effort to color it in, not like it was a lot of effort, but I don't want it to move. I wanna hold it in place, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit of washi tape. That looks good. All right. I can pop this away. Move those out of the way as well. And there's our little owl. Peel that off. And we're going to bring in our paper trimmer so we can trim this piece so it's a little bit shorter and also narrower. Okay. And then we're gonna we need a little bit of fiber. So I didn't use any fibers on the last project, which is very rare for me. I almost always add baker's twine or linen thread or some sort of ribbon, but on the first card, I didn't add any of that. So what I've done here is I've taken that same ribbon that I used here and I've trimmed the very edge so that I can pull some fibers from it. So I'm just gonna pull out some fibers, and this is the sparkly bit of this ribbon, or the iridescent part of this ribbon. So it's gonna have a little sparkle to it. Okay. And it does this one really likes to curl up. It's got quite a bit of movement. It's super, super fine. Some people, this is not a technique for everyone. Some people don't like this, but I love the look of it, so I think it's worth the effort. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit of adhesive on here. That's gonna get covered over. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of do almost like a figure 8. And these fibers, like this is a little bit more finicky than normal. And I think it's just because of the texture of the fibers. They really kind of have a mind of their own. But we're going for a messy look, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're gonna add some dimensionals to the back of our owl. I'm hoping that the connection is okay. I can see some comments, so. Yeah, I agree, Louise. I remember when my kids were young too. They loved hearing the garbage trucks, right? All right, so we're gonna put our owl kind of right over top, like that. We're gonna bring in our card base. We'll add some adhesive to this. Add him on here, and then we're just gonna angle cut this. And I'm gonna curl it a little bit. And I'll add a dimensional here. And then just some multi-purpose glue there. This is going to get tucked underneath. And then we'll finish it off with a couple of our sparkle gems. And there we've got our second pocket card. So I didn't add a greeting into this one because sending love, that could be used for pretty much anything. You could turn this into a sympathy card if you wanted to. It could also be a Christmas card. So I left it blank so that I can decide what type of card that I need. All right. So here is, so this is the sample that I created using the same DSP, but because it was ombre, I used the darker part for this one and then the lighter part for this one. So, and then from the bottom of that piece of DSP, I have this strip left. So again, I'll share what I do with this strip in a future blog post. And then I have all of these corners left over from cutting those as well. So I'll share some cards with those. And then the other little bit that I had left over was this little strip. Remember, we used 2 of these, which was the bottom. It was this strip left over from the bottom of these 2 cards. So this was one sheet of DSP and this was another sheet of DSP. This is what I have left, but we still have one more pocket card to do. So all right, so I'm going to set these aside. Oh, I wanted to share, I have another sample using different product for this last card that we created. So this is using, I think the stamp set is called Fun and Festive, and I used the Merry Bold and Bright DSP, and there is the insert. So, I mean, you could use it with so many different patterned papers. Super cute. Okay. All right, now moving on, let me set these aside. And we'll set the owl bundle aside because we're going to use different product for this next card. I'll bring in my supplies. All right, so let me grab the paper that we're going to use for this one. Okay. So for this one, we are using a Walk in the Forest DSP. So this is the product Give Back DSP. So it's right at the front of the September to December mini catalog. And from every package sold, Stampin' Up! Donates $4 here in Canada to the Salvation Army. Now I've used both, like a full sheet of both full sheets of one of the patterns. So I've only got 5 patterns here to share with you, but we've got this one and it coordinates with 2 bundles from the September to December catalog, the Berry Christmas bundle or Berry Cute. I always get the DSP and the sweet names mixed up. And then also Merriest Trees, I think it's called. So these are one of the paper sides, and then we've got this one. I love this one. So this is the paper that I'm using for my Stamp-A-Stack in November, and attendees will get to see this entire paper pack used because they get a full package of the paper. And we are making 12 cards, but they're going to go home with lots of extras, so I want to make sure I give them ideas. So I've challenged myself to use this entire paper pack. So there's going to be tons of samples for attendees to see. And you can participate to go as well. I'll share photos of what I've created in the tutorial. Okay, so we're going to use this pattern and create another pocket card. So this piece did measure 12 by 12, obviously, and it was cut down to 4 by 12 for my sample. So I've got 8 inches left. So you can get 3 of these cards from one piece of this DSP. So I'm gonna cut another strip that measures 4 by 12 inches. So I will create another one using this so that I can use it up. But then what I'm gonna do is, so again, I should point out, if your paper is directional, this is how you wanna cut it, okay? And then I'm gonna cut it at, let me just make sure I've got my measurement right. 10.5, I believe. Yes, 10.5. 10.5 inches. I'm gonna save this because I'm gonna use it on the inside. I'm gonna set this aside. Okay, and then we need to score it. We're gonna score it in 2 different places. Now this is important. What you need to do is you need to decide which pattern you want showing on the front. Okay, so I'm gonna share my sample. I usually don't share the sample before, but you wanna decide which pattern you want this to be, okay? So I want it to be my trees. So I have to think, if I fold this up this way, my trees are gonna be upside down, right? So I wanna make sure that I fold it up this way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in, so my direction is going this way, and I'm gonna score it at 5.25 inches. Okay, yeah, I just had to think about, I wanted to make sure before I scored it. So 5.25 inches, and then I'm gonna move it down and score it at 9.25 inches. Okay. All right. So then I'm gonna fold it. So this back piece is gonna be upside down, but that's okay because we're gonna attach it to, where's my bone folder? To a piece of cardstock. So nobody's gonna see that bit. So score, I've got something sticky on my bone folder. And then this bit is gonna fold down. Okay, so then this is going to get adhered to a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock that measures 4.25 by 5.5. Now at this point, you need to decide if you want to seal this pocket. So if you do, you can put adhesive up here and up here. I would suggest using just a narrow bead of multi-purpose glue so that it allows for more room in your pocket. If you use tear and tape, then you think tear and tape is about 1/4 inch, that's gonna reduce this your pocket 1/2 inch, okay? But what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna actually adhere my sides. So I'm gonna share what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring in some of our herringbone white ribbon and I'm gonna trim it down to about 5 inches. You just need it to be a little longer than your card so that you can kind of go around. So I'm gonna center this, flip it over, and then I'm gonna use some Seal Plus. You can use regular seal as well. And then I'm gonna fold this over. I'm just gonna flip this just to make sure I'm still in the center. And that's how my pocket is going to be held closed. And then I'll flip this over, add adhesive to the back. So something to consider before you decide how you want to adhere, like if you want to close your pocket just using a piece of ribbon or if you want to seal it. You might want to consider what you're putting in it. But there's a ways around, even if you're using something small, like if I were to tuck a gift card in here, I have a gift card here. So if I wanted to tuck a gift card in here, it could fall out the side of the pocket, but all you need to do is just use a mini glue dot and stick it to your insert piece. So that's a way to get around that. All right, but this would be cute. You could tuck like a cider package or a hot chocolate package in here. That would be really cute. All right, so now what we're gonna do with our ribbon is, that looks pretty plain. So I'm gonna add some baker's twine. Just cut about an 8-inch piece and I'm gonna feed it underneath. I love this DSP, so pretty. And Balmy Blue and Pretty Peacock, those are two colors I probably wouldn't have put together. So I'm gonna put this in here, pull it tight. And then tie a bow. And that's just a simple way to dress up this wide ribbon. Of course, you can hang something from it if you wanted to stamp your greeting and hang that from there, but I'm going to do something different with my greeting. All right, so there is our base. Okay, now for our insert piece. Now your insert piece might be a different size depending on if you adhered this, because if you stuck adhesive down the side, your piece will not be this large, okay? So I could leave it white, but the other thing that you can do is, let me grab my scraps here. Okay, so I had a scrap of this peacock cardstock, and then this leftover piece that I had. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to just use a little bit of adhesive, put this on the top just so I have, you know, another little bit of contrast. I'm going to trim that. And then this is still going to be a little bit long because remember this was 4 inches and this is just slightly smaller so it fits nicely in our pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive here. So this is going to be a pocket within a pocket. So this is another way that you can get around anything sliding out the sides. And if you didn't want to create a pocket, you could just add this to it. You don't have to create a pocket. But now I've got a little pocket to tuck my gift card in so that it doesn't fall out. And I've used all of that cardstock or that DSP. So that is the only scrap from that piece of DSP. Okay, we're still going to do something to that. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to use the Merriest Trees bundle, and I've used this die here, so this kind of smaller tree die, and I cut 2 from Pretty Peacock. One that's just cut, and then one that I embossed using the Splatter embossing folder. All right, so we're gonna use both of these, but on this one, I wanna stamp on it. So in this set, there is a stamp that is kind of shaped like a triangle that you can stamp on your tree. So, and it says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And initially I thought, okay, well, I could stamp it in Pretty Peacock, but then it's not gonna stand out. It's not gonna pop. So I'm gonna emboss it with white. So I'm just gonna use my embossing buddy, get rid of the fingers, the oils from my fingers or any static that's on there. And this just fits on here. Like it's a tight squeeze. I need to put this on a piece of white because it's hard to see on. Okay, hopefully you guys are still here. Okay. All right. My screen is frozen. It appears that I'm still going. Okay. Can somebody just comment? And I think I'm good. But can somebody just comment and just make sure that it is still recording? And actually, I probably don't want to do this on an envelope. Let me grab that scrap piece that I had. What did I do with it? I forgot to silence my notifications before I went live. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. All right. Okay, so this is just gonna fit on here. Peel that off. And then we'll sprinkle it with some white embossing powder. And I'm going to use my tweezers for this. Just because it's so full. So look at that. Fits perfectly on there. Okay, and then we'll heat set it. just love white embossing on a darker color cardstock. It just looks so good. All right, and then whenever I use my embossing buddy on a darker colored cardstock, I mean, you can see that it leaves like a little bit of a powdered look. So I usually just take my fingers and kind of get rid of that powdered look. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and adhere this tree. It's gonna go on flat. Right there. And then this one's gonna get some dimensionals. And it's gonna get popped up right here. Look how cute that is. Okay, we're gonna finish this off with some of our sparkle sequins. And use my take your pick tool. I'll just add a couple of these on here for a little bit of sparkle. And then to the inside, I wanted to add a greeting as well. So I've got just a scrap piece of white here, and I'm gonna use another greeting from that Merriest Tree stamp set. This time I'm gonna use some Pretty Peacock ink. And I'm gonna stamp it on my scrap. So this is, it's a combination stamp. So it's got some block lettering and some script lettering. Here's a little trick for you. As long as the block lettering is straight, you can see that I stamped it upside down because it's easiest to line up the block lettering so that it's straight compared to the script lettering. So because I've got a straight edge here, I stamped it upside down because it's easier to line that up. And then I'm gonna trim it so it's not gonna make a difference anyways, but just a little trick for you. And I almost always stamp on a larger piece and then trim it down. Okay, so we've got this. This piece is gonna go on here on the inside. And we've got a pocket within a pocket. And look how cute that is. So fun. So again, you can get three of these cards from one piece of pattern paper, and this is the only waste. You'll have 3 little pieces like this. And I mean, you could flip this over and add it as a little flag if you want, but all right, so let me share. So there's my sample and the one I made. And then we've got these 2 that look slightly different because of the pieces of DSP, or the part of the DSP that I used. And then this one. So pretty. So 3 pocket card ideas. There are a ton of other pocket card ideas out there, but I wanted to share 3 simple ways that you could create a pocket card using your patterned paper. And I will have in today's blog post, which we'll post a little bit later, I will have photos of all of these as well as measurements. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, if you want to participate in the Winter Owls Class to Go, deadline to register is the 13th of October, and there is a link in the description to where you can find all the information. All right. Have a fabulous weekend, guys. Take care.